I see your garden videos, Conscientious Omnivore. Monoculture, that's the place you ought to be. Got some tomatoes a little bit behind schedule. These I picked up a little bit late. You can grow some indoors a little while yourself, but I just picked them up at the hardware store. These are better boys. Got some flowers already. So they're staked all the way to the sky, and they'll get there. I've done it before. So you need to start early. You need to have soil. You're feeding your worms, bringing in lots of compost, lots of stuff that you are composting. Compost it on the spot, do it the year before. Now's not terribly early for starting on next year's tomatoes. Now, you bring in a lot of compost, of course. If you can get it like for free at a municipal like brush site, they may compost it for you. I've got one of those near me. 30 miles though. I hauled in, I guess that'd be 8 truckloads for this. And there wouldn't be anything wrong with hauling more for this amount. And you get that good amount, you want to pack them fairly close. This is about as close as I dare. Take advantage of it. If you prune them back, then they're not going to be spreading all over the place. So you can pack them fairly close as well. I cut up bags. Don't have the screen with me whenever you're getting to look at me, but I don't have anything fancy. Pruning is kind of a skill you pick up fairly quick. You'll mess it up. I don't know if I can find one here for you, but you know, yeah, this is the one. That's the one. Okay, so this is a little unusual. So that's a sucker, but there's no regular branch to it, so I'm gonna have to keep the sucker. So, you know, stuff like that can throw you off. That's a very unusual thing right there. So this is fairly normal, and every branch has, this is a teeny one or leftovers or something. No, I haven't. Okay, but you're gonna take those off. There's one to take off. And these are called suckers. And if you have one branch, then it's going to concentrate a lot of effort. And you're not going to have foliage that doesn't get plenty of light, for example. And they're going to just, you know, the tops are going to start popping. Because, I mean, there's only one direction to go. So it puts it in there. And I don't know if it's related to pushing too hard, but sometimes if they're small and they're curled under, they'll like pick up the light in a weird way, and they'll spin around or something weird like that. And you know, look at them while you're like suckering them, and maybe straighten them out while you can. Here's an example, and I'm not sure if that's related to them pushing so hard. but they can get pretty funky pretty quick. But they also have the possibility, I've used this method with tons of compost and with suckering and staking. And I've achieved very good results 2 times out of 3. You know, seasons are going to vary. And then the other time was decent normal tomatoes, but those other 2 times I'm talking about, it was tomatoes like someone put sugar in them. Sugar content goes up, and that's a large part of the flavor. There's other components, I'm sure, but that's a very large part of it. When you get tomatoes like that, you'll be proud of them. But you need tons of compost. You need some effort in that. This is how you actually literally get your green thumb suckering tomato plants. They put off some green stuff that just layers on your thumb. It cakes, and then you can like maybe peel it off or something. You got to wash your hands, and then you just like color your base in green. It's a little weird, but yeah, if your tomato plants are slow growing, it's just not going to happen this year. The rate at which they grow, it's not like you're going to compensate for that later on or anything. It's just basically you're dead. One thing that you can do, maybe you can, if your compost is not completely composted or something like that, you might notice that they're not fully green, they're a little yellow. You can put some nitrogen on that. I've got some humongous leaves before, like big as my hand, so we got a little ways to go. We might get that, and that's generally for most tomato growers not a sign that you're doing anything right. You're just putting too much nitrogen on there, maybe. I'm not sure if that line of reasoning fits with suckering or not, because if you're just growing too much foliage, I mean, you're gonna like put shade on other leaves maybe. That might not be the case if you are properly, you know, trimming them and keeping them from just crowding themselves out. But yeah, you can look at the color and maybe see that it's got a lack of nitrogen. You might be able to fix that with some chemicals I'm not sure if you want to use. But if you don't want to, just make sure it's well composted. And then you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, if you have a raised bed, you're going to hold more water when it's dry, and it's also going to drain better, and you won't get the rot. And you need lots of calcium, so if your local brush pile's got a bunch of limestone in there, that's great. They like lots of acid, so that's not necessarily the best thing there, but you know, get you some pine needles. I don't know if there's an advantage to more acid, but you're not gonna kill them with too much acid. So I'm kind of thinking my kale seems to do better than whatever this is that I kind of classified, and it doesn't do as well in the stuff that I composted. So well, maybe that's just less sunlight as well. But the leaves I got put in here maybe weren't fully composted. I don't know. Should probably stir that up. And that's about all I got for garden. These are That is zucchini is, and then there's some things here that are butternut squash. See a peach tree, red Russian kale. But yeah, master the tomatoes, buddy.